Customer Success Convos. Join the biggest names in customer success for a video series that brings together leaders within the field to discuss the latest trends, innovative insights, and most effective strategies within customer success right now. Hosted by Vish Walia. Whether you're new to customer success or a seasoned professional, Vish and his guests will leave you with actionable advice, takeaways, and top tips to enhance your customer experiences.
So great to have you here, Minna. So, Minna, why don't you give us a brief introduction about yourself, about your role at Growth Engineering, and also your previous experience in the customer success space?
Perfect. Well, as you can probably see from my background, I work for Growth Engineering, and we are a learning management platform. We've run a multitude of applications, as you can see on the left-hand side. And here, obviously, I'm head of customer success, and naturally, with that role, my biggest responsibility here is to make sure our customers get to their outcomes, and I'll probably touch upon that topic a couple of times during this recording. Prior to this role, I was a head of customer success VP at a hospitality tech firm, and that's actually where my background comes from. So I'm a long-lived hospitality expert. So I started my career as a director of revenue. Sure. And for those of you that don't know what that role does, it works in a hotel environment, and it's actually a data geek to a certain extent. And we look after ensuring that we forecast for the future, look at the economics of the hotel, and do a lot of data manipulation to understand the best pricing for any given day. And from there, then I moved into a role in Asia Pacific headquarters where I teach system adoption. And obviously with system adoption comes a lot change management practices. So if you want to tick off the skill sets for customer success, I've done data, I've done forecasting, I've done change management, I've taught system adoption. And that's really where my passion and love for systems and training comes from. Which is obviously matched perfectly now at Growth Engineering because I'm teaching a learning management system to our customers. Amazing
profile, Minna. Like I would say it's a tailor-made profile, right? For somebody to join customer success.
So it's just skills picked up along the way. So
yeah, perfect match. I know you are super passionate about data and systems. And you just talked about your background in data and systems. So please share with us what kind of systems or software did you develop at your company and how it benefited them?
So great question, Wish. And I maybe have to preface that I didn't develop software specifically. I went to a vendor solution. But before I did this, what was really important for me is I believe that systems and tech in general should enable you to do your job better. So especially for customer success professionals, that 360 view of customers through tech is really important. So, so that you can know what they're actively doing and what they're doing in their journey. So where I actually started before implementing, I made sure that we had a thought about what our customers go through. We use this terminology a lot of times called customer journey. So we mapped out customer journey, mapped out life cycle phases, and as much as possible, we allocated activities and what we now call playbooks, obviously, against each of these phases. So that's a prep work I did. Also, one of the prep works before you implement a system is to really look at your data structures. What is it that you are getting in terms of different types of data? Are you getting product data? What's your customer data? All that kind of good stuff. So with that, I had done that prep work first, and then I was able to implement in my second month here a customer success software with really just to boost up the capabilities of the team. So I think the first thing is that if you don't have a CS software, you don't realize where all of the pieces of information are. Often enough, you just spend time in looking for that. So I would call out that being very, very first benefit of CS software. And the second benefit is really that automated task management, which is the customer that I should be now looking at and what am I looking at with them. So then incorporating that data into it. And we started doing product data as well as usage data and customer sentiment scores. So finally, what I would probably say around this is make sure you're selecting a tool that helps you to bring your whole tech stack together. So if, for example, if you're using a support software, that should integrate with it. Whatever your sales tools are should integrate with it. Naturally, most of SaaS tech companies use Jira. So again, incorporating that you get that holistic 360 view. And that really is the benefit from, at least for me, from having implemented that from a very, very get-go.
Perfect. Looks like a pretty comprehensive project. And I like, the way you said that you outlined the key steps and milestones in your customer success journey, right? That's the key to achieve those business outcomes that we intend to achieve, from get-go. Perfect. I know data and systems go hand in hand, and you talked about the software that you implemented. So kudos to you for doing that. Now, what kind of data did you derive from the system? And if you can share, like, what benefits you got by, using or leveraging that data in your CS operations?
Perfect question. Thanks, Vish, for that. So yeah, let me dive into kind of the data side a little bit more. I think there should be always definition between internal and external data. And obviously what helps you internally might help you also externally, but really should still differentiate those two. So for us, really the internal data was around tracking now churn really accurately, and again, against reasons, not just, hey, we churn a customer, right? We then did health score, and I'll touch upon that a little bit later. And then voice of customer, so NPS, obviously, with that. So that's really good internal metrics for us to understand what is the customer doing, what are they saying to us, and then getting a data point that is visible that you can present to your management teams as well. So not just, hey, I think this, but here's actually what our customers are saying, right? So qualitative numbers. And then obviously we talk a lot about health score in our industry, and that is a somewhat subjective still, because obviously it depends on how you wanna leverage that and what you wanna bring into it. But some key items obviously is to kind of understand what is the customer saying, so NPS potentially. What are they experiencing, any support tickets related things, what are they actually using, so some kind of product metrics. And if you can already get that kind of 3 data points, you're into getting a sense of what the customer is feeling about you. And obviously, again, like I said, it can be a bit more subjective, but what it should give you is the first round indication, who's at risk, who's not happy. And happiness is not the right word I'm looking for here, who's not satisfied enough for them to continue with you. And that should enable you then to really look at that through with your CSM managers and saying, why is this customer's health score 3.4 and this is 6.7, and which one would you then naturally start having bigger conversations about, right? There should be some indication from that health score, who's at risk, and then you can obviously scale with that a lot more. Now, so I talked a lot about internal data. I think we'll touch upon external data in one other 2 sentiments a little bit, but really I think the external data is then what you show to your customers and what ROI are they seeing from using your platform.
Okay. It is so perfect because, if you look at the evolution of customer success, it has always been very subjective and relative. And what you just shared with us is a very factual analysis of your relationship with your customer and your product or services. And by determining that, we can determine our next steps. Our focus can focus on what should be doing with the customer based on the health score and the other metrics they have. So that's great. And I'm sure, you're talking about the success of these initiatives, right? Both the systems and the data. I'm sure you had your fair share of challenges when you were implementing and introducing these concepts. Now, my next question is on behalf of, those customer success leaders who are either in the midst of implementing a system-driven approach or who are thinking of embarking on this initiative where we use system and data. If I may ask, Minna, what are the top building blocks of developing a customer success unit supported by systems and data?
So I'm going to draw up a old saying here: garbage in, garbage out. So if your data is bad, your output is bad as well. So I think one of the things, obviously, for me as well was that it's obviously systems are only as good as the things that you're going to feed into them. So before, I think the first building block is really to take stock of what you have. So before you embark on any implementation, literally write up a document and say, do I have good data on customers in terms of their spends, their contracts, their product usage? What are the things that I'm missing and where can I get them from? So do your data mapping scenario.
Okay.
And then the other part, again, systems also give you what you want out of them. So you need to, there's obviously a standard fields that they'll ever have, like, I don't know, it's just typically name and address, but the rest is typically left up to you to decide what you want. Okay. So you might want to start as a building block, understanding what is things that are important for you to know at a glance or as an overview of all your companies. So I'll give you an example. Okay. It's as you can see, you know, we run 3 products and we've got other options of upselling as well. So It's important for us to know what products of our customers are using, how many licenses they have. So that you would call this like bespoke fields, right? Okay. And that kind of to have an idea of what are information that you want to hold at a glance. Yeah. And that being said, I know you're never going to get it right at the first slide. So, right, like allow yourself to flexibility. Sure. I mean, I think I wrote like a 12-page document of things I wanted to implement. And you know what? We're still doing some new things anyway, as you grow with the systems and you learn how to use them. And then my final piece of advice, I think, for building blocks is to never assume that someone's gonna embrace it as much as you from the get-go. Like people have a different learning curves into system adoption. That's the same with your customers as it is your internal teams. Sure. So checking in week by week to make sure that your team's comfortable in using it and that they're embracing it. Because they're not, if they're not, then you've got a massive bill on your hands that you're not getting an output from. Absolutely. So that change management practice is really key at once you're in that journey.
I know that's phenomenal. And you rightly said, right? Like change management starts at home. So, right. So we have to convince and we have to make sure that our CSM practitioners are embracing that system. Talking about CSM practitioners, we haven't talked about them. And I know that a lot of our audience compromises from that community. So we talked about systems and data. So what would you say, like what would be your tactical tips for our CSM practitioners on how they can maximize the data, right? We talked about systems, we talked about data. Now, how they can use, this data to, I would say, drive further success, at their customers.
Great question. Thanks for that. So I don't think there is one model that fits all, but what I would say here is that I just touch upon the external data slightly before that. So let me throw back on that. External data can be really valuable as a conversation starter with your customers. So if you're able to show them what they're doing and what they're missing, that's a great way. So let me just elaborate on that. So for example, we share our customers' usage data in their customer portal, so they can see at a glance very easily what are they doing in the platform, or actually, in fact, not the admins, what are the end users doing in the platform. So if that's your model, then it's really valuable to share what are you actually getting out of the platform. But in any case, this is probably going to be the hardest part, but you should be really laser focused on trying to create a measurable outcomes for your customers. So whatever the data, the activity that they're doing in your platform, how is it improving their day-to-day working environment or working place? And if you can put a monetary value against it, so somehow equate it to improving your revenue, cost savings, because cost savings obviously have a very direct correlation against pay or time spent or things like that. You can put a monetary value against it, even if it has to be done in conjunction with your customers. Then you are in a very, very good place to start really talking about the value you're providing for that company. And that's much more higher level conversation than, again, to say, how do we improve the value that we're doing today? and obviously leads on to a much better conversation around renewal, because you've got a tangible measurement that you can demonstrate with your customers.
I'm just pausing the recording button. Perfect, Minna. I know you talked about CSM practitioners. I know a lot of our audience is coming from that community. So my next question is for CSM practitioners, like how they can maximize the use of data that is being collected by these systems. Like what tactical tips would you give to our CSM professionals on how they can get benefit and they can maximize the data?
So I love that question, and I'll expand that with where I started a little bit earlier around the external data. So again, here is where I think power of data, especially when you can show it to customers, is really, really beneficial. So if obviously this is probably the hardest part, because your systems and product might not be providing this information seamlessly, but it's really important to spend and focus on this. So let me tell you how we do it here. So we share customers' usage data in their customer portal, which is powered by our CS software. And with that, what helps us to really then have is a more strategic conversations with our customers saying, absolutely, this is value that your end users are now currently doing in our system. And obviously, considering we've got a learning management system, usage and adoption is kind of one of those key things that provide value for our customers. And from there, we try to get to a really measurable outcome. So again, this here is the hard part, right? It's not going to necessarily be automatically said, here's your formula 1, 2, 3, and you've got an output. But what you should really try to aim is putting a monetary value against that outcome. So are you getting a revenue out of your system? Are you getting cost saving out of your systems? What are you doing that is improving this customer's day, right? And what is it that they can then show to their management teams is, I'm paying for this system and it gives me benefit of X back into my business. And if you can do that as an outcome, you are in a much, much better, much, much stronger conversation when it comes to times to like renewal, right? Rather than, oh yeah, I like it, it helps me in X way. If you can put a data point against that, and you are a much stronger foothold within the customer. And that's what the, a lot of times when you talk to C-level suites, they don't really need to know the detail. They want to know what you're getting out of the system. Why should I pay X amount for your system if you don't have anything to tell me tangibly what you're getting? So that's my real top tip for CS practitioners. Don't feel like you're alone on that journey. I think your whole team should be helping you to figure out how we can show that measurable outcomes with your customer. And that's what we've done with our sales team. They sell those outcomes that we say we should be delivering.
You know, that's a perfect match, right? Like, you know, the relationship between sales and customer success is so important in the SaaS world. And I loved your, you know, highlighting on not just the data and the usage, but also dollarizing that data point. Because at the end of the day, you know, customers invest in a software or in a product that will give them some kind of a business value in dollar value. And if you can relate, you know, that back to customer in a very compelling way, and a customer success is actually working with them to drive that, that is phenomenal, right? So thank you, Minna. Like, you know, I love the whole chat we had, right? Starting from systems, data, external data, internal data, building blocks, and at the last but not the least, you know, talking to CSM practitioners on how they can monetize that data point of usage and start having those strategic discussions. So thank you once again for being here, sharing these valuable tips to our audience.
Thank you, Vish, for inviting me. I love these kind of conversations of improving and sharing within our community. And obviously, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, happy to talk about more of these practices and tips and connect with you. Yeah, and thank you again, Vish. Lovely to chat with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Customer Success Convos. That's it for this week's episode. Join us again next time to learn more about customer success tips and takeaways from industry leaders.